I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. Well, with the blade guide all brazed up, and silver soldered up I should say, I wanted to square up the ends. And I looked at it long and hard thinking, well, I could use the belt sander, and then I thought, no, the better option would be to use the disc sander, because the disc sander has a nice stable platform to work from. Also, it has something that the belt sander doesn't have. It has a nice table with a 90-degree guide on it, so I can actually hold the blade guide straight and square to the disc and get a nice flat surface on it, which is really what I'm after. Strike this face first. That's the base. Everything else has to square up to that. Now, because I don't have a fancy surface grinder or milling machine, to get this edge straight, I decided to screw this down to this piece of plywood. Piece of plywood is nice and straight. This edge is 90 degrees to this edge. And I can use the disc grinder guide to hold this straight and square as I go across the face of the disc. That should give me a good shot at making this flat. So let's give it a shot. Before I could do the sanding, I had to make sure that everything was going to line up right. So, this is the miter guide off my table saw. Just happens to be a Craftsman because my table saw is a Craftsman. Now, this is a Dunlop disc sander, but they're second cousins. Now, when you're using a miter guide, you got to double check it. Even though it has this nice guide pin and a scale on it, because it's old and I've never used this particular one before, I wanted to make sure it was straight and square. And as you can see, that fits pretty good. No daylight showing at the bottom, no daylight showing between this bar and this bar. Get the straight edge up against it. And here we go. Looking good. More than halfway. Just a little bit more to go. You can see how the casting has dips and divots in it. That happened before it fell over and cracked. This edge drops way down. I'm going to try and take it just a little bit more. I've got marks there on the surface, so I know that this is going to sit flat. But I want to get just a little bit more over here so I don't have that ear trying to bend off. Okay, I think that's good enough. I can't get rid of all this. That would take it down another 32nd of an inch, and I don't want to thin it up that much. Take this downstairs and I'll realign it. We can see that that's sitting nice and flat and square, just the way I want it. Nice. But I do want to have a nice flat surface. This needs to have a nice flat surface so that the bearings can sit against these surfaces here, because that's what pinches the blade in alignment. This goes against the base. This aligns the blade this way. So I need to have this as a nice flat surface. I think I need to tap that back just a little bit. That looks good. Okay, square this surface up, and then I'll lay this surface down flat and square that up. And that should have it ready to go back on. Of course, I'll have to paint it first and make sure everything's working. But before I do the painting, I'm going to try fitting it in there just to see that it's going to function before I get it all covered with paint and have to take the paint back off in order to add some more braze or something. So it's a matter of steps, but we'll get there. That looks like a pretty good approximation of done. Got full contact along there, 4 good pads out there. I think we got her. Done. I chased the thread in those holes. I got some silver solder in that one. And it wouldn't hurt to chase these. Whenever you heat a piece of cast iron up, it'll get something called grain growth. And the grain growth is just the crystals in the cast iron swell up and become larger. And it makes tapped holes smaller and through holes smaller. Actually makes the casting just a little bit bigger. We're talking microscopic amounts. But when you got a thread, it doesn't take much to make it too tight. So see if I've got a tap down there in that metric tap box that's going to fit these threads. This video is not to be viewed by anyone under the age of 13 in the U.S. or 16 in the European Union, without the express written permission of the parents or legal guardians of the underage person. Such written permission must be on file at the local government entity in charge of enforcing the rules and regulations established by the FTC. Anyone violating these terms is admitting by default that they hold harmless the owners and operators of this channel. Any and all questions should be addressed to your local branch of the FTC.